Business, a person's occupation, profession, or trade. Connection, a relationship in which a person or idea is linked or associated with something else. Welcome to Business Connection. Each week, our program will offer inspiration to navigate the business world. Information you can use to succeed in any field. And we will help you focus on your goals. Join us now for Business Connection with your host, BC Clark.
Well, hello and welcome to the Business Connection. I'm your host, BC Clark. As you know, I interview business owners across the state, some organizations, resources for the business owner. Today, my guest is Malinda Williams. Malinda, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, and I wanted to do this for a long time, but it just never happened. So I'm glad that we were able to do it now. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, Malinda.
Absolutely. So I mentioned Malinda Williams, President CEO for Omaha 100, as well as a financial advisor in the space of supporting families and businesses as they achieve prosperity, however they define it.
Yeah, awesome. And so, what does it look like today out there? How are things going for the small businesses, as far as resources for loans and how many of them are in position? What does that look like right now? Sure. I always want to say, what's the status of things out there? Like they say, what's the state of Nebraska? So, what's the state of the lending?
Well, I'll definitely say that's one thing that I appreciate about the state of Nebraska is that we have done a great job of curating resources for small businesses. I think our leadership understands that small businesses are the lifeblood of the economic system,
for sure.
And the communities that we live in. And so they have put together resources and supported organizations that are providing those resources to small businesses. So most recently, the Economic Development Department for the state carved out funds for small business grants. The city has also carved out money for small business grants. And then from the federal level, there's money that's come down. Right. So we at Omaha 100, as a CDFI or community development institution, work to be an alternative lender. So we are more relationship focused as opposed to transactional, working with people through that process, making sure that they are able to access funds that they may not be able to through a traditional lender.
Right.
That's going to look like not having a minimum credit score. We take more time to understand what's on the credit report and what other debts or liabilities, obligations that a business may have, just to make sure that it's a good fit for the business to take on additional debt to continue to be successful as a business, and it doesn't add additional burden to them. But we really want to be a partner, as do all CDFIs, want to be a partner to those businesses as they move through in launching, growing, and scaling their business and making it a generational wealth opportunity for their family.
Yeah, no, I think that's really great. The one thing that I can say about Nebraska is that we are truly a technical assistant, relation building type of group here, and it's different from a lot of other states as well. Yes. Because I look at Kansas City and they're not really all about relationships and technical assistance. They're more about, let me get this loan done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I really appreciate, and I've been here for a long time, and I've, on both sides, SBA, SCORE, and also with CDFIs. And we do believe in building those relationships because, if we build that relationship, it allows us to be able to know more about them, know how they operate. And so when we look at the credit report, then we're, okay, this makes sense. This is what they're doing. I see how they've gone this way. And people do get into trouble. So there's times when people get into trouble, but you can't hold them accountable for something they did 20 years ago. And oftentimes that's what happens with banks and others. So I really appreciate.
Even though it's supposed to fall off after 7 years.
Yeah, it's okay. But you know what? If they do a background check, they swipe the whole ground level.
Yes.
And so, and sometimes it does cause issues. And I recently encountered something that happened with a client recently. 12 score, credit score, and she got ready to get this loan, and after like about 4 months or something like that, and then she got all her paperwork and everything, and then they do a background check, and 20 years ago, and so I was like, I was like, 20 years ago, she was like 22.
Right.
So
A very different person.
a completely different person. And so, you look at those things and you say, why are people even doing that kind of stuff? So what I appreciate about Nebraska is that, I'm sure they do background checks, but they probably do them early so that they don't take a person through that kind of stress after they've gotten everything that they needed, been working hard all these 20-some years, and all of a sudden, something that happened 20-some years ago, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
And then we found out it's really not a problem because all the stuff that they found out was there was something that had an answer for everything. So anyway, yeah. So
And if they would just take the time to have those conversations.
Exactly.
And truly understand the borrower that they're working with. And that's the benefit of the CDFI is that we take the time to do that.
Yes.
And
we're
it may make
relational.
our process a little bit longer.
Yeah, but I think that, even in that, people are okay because they realize that, what, they believe in me. They're not saying no right now, even if it's a credit issue where you say, I have those, right? People come to me, I have them sent to me all the time. They're at like a 610 or they're at a 550 or whatever. And, the lower the score, the more challenging it is. But if they're willing to do the work, they can have it cleared up in 6 months. And so, so that's what a lot of times, that's what organizations will send to me.
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, I love that we care. That's what I'll say, because it is caring. Because when you're really telling a small business that you care about what they do is how you treat them.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so when you go through all those things and it's not organized, it's chaos.
And the 5 C's of credit don't tell the whole story.
No, it doesn't.
So the conditions, we have had unprecedented times, I think, for the past 5-6 years. It's been unprecedented every year.
Yeah.
So-
Yes, we have.
So we have to factor that into how that's affected our entrepreneurs and these small,
And mental
small
illness.
businesses.
Oh my gosh, the pandemic just sent a lot of business owners off the chart.
Yeah.
A lot of us became mental health counselors during that time, which, we wanted to because we had some options that we could do and tools that we could use for hope.
Yes.
And at that time, it was hope that they needed. And so I just love the fact that we're really relational, with our clients.
And I won't make it sound like we get it right every time.
No.
We are in a space of constant change, and one of our core values at Mile 100 is innovation. We want to be able to look at things differently, and figure out how
Outside
we
of the
can
box.
be outside of the box
Yeah.
and do things differently. Understand the rules, and just figure out and ask the questions. Be curious to understand why is this rule like this?
Yeah.
And how can we look at this differently? Or assist the client with their business, help them look at things differently to make it fit into what it is too.
And I tell you, every business owner that I work with, when you teach them something new, they run with it.
Yeah.
It was, wow, I didn't know that. And a lot of times, even with their credit, sometimes they don't even know. And that's why I always say, look, at least pull it so you see what it looks like. And some people say, oh, I don't know what it looks like. And then when you get it, they're surprised. It's 600 and something. I was like, fear, you guys got to stop with this fear stuff.
Yeah.
Even
as a financial advisor, I found that clients often look at their financials like a scary movie, kind of with their hands over their eyes, peeking through their fingers, like they don't really want to see what's coming next. But that's just, you have to have that level of awareness so that you can know how to confidently move forward in all the other decisions you need to make.
I keep thinking that, I think especially for minorities, I think the problem with them with their credit score is that if they've ever been turned down, from a bank, then it puts something there and they're just afraid from then on. But, I had someone that was just, I don't even want to see it. No, okay, I don't want to see what's on it. And I was like, so I just stopped for a minute. I said, can you just take a deep breath? Let's do some diaphragmatic breathing for a moment here. Really, let's sit up straight, put your feet on the floor. Let's just do this. Yes. This person was really that afraid. Yeah. And when I realized how scared she was, I was like, oh my God. So I didn't want her to know how, I was like, okay, this is crazy.
Absolutely.
It was crazy, but it wasn't crazy because it's just like anything else, fear comes in all different directions. And if people don't know how to handle it, if they don't know how to say, I got to do this. Yeah. Because the only way you can do it is to go through it.
Is to go through it.
Period.
You got a word on that?
Yeah. And so, and we got through that. And when she found out, she was like at a 6:30. I said,
but
she was like, for real? For real? Is that mine?
Yeah.
Yes, and it's yours.
We don't know often what other things trauma is tied to that
trauma.
that response.
Yes.
Because she may have had a great score, a high score at one point, and people go through different things, different transitions in life. A divorce can completely derail your
I know that.
entire financial your entire financial situation.
Yeah.
And then from that point forward, you may not want to look at it because it
You're-
reminds you of that time.
Yep.
And so you don't want to have to go relive that.
That
but
trauma, yeah.
So when you have great resources and
Yeah.
partners at your side, then you're able to face it.
I was just so glad that she came to me because I wouldn't wanted her to be at a bank to see how they would trick her.
Right, because it's
then
just
they
a
would
number to them.
They call it re-traumatizing, and so I wouldn't want that to happen. But it's so good though that and speaking with Omaha 100 as a lender, knowing that you guys are relational and you care about the clients, and those are things that a lot of small businesses don't know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so. And that's why I wanted to bring you on so that they can see, because a lot of times we see all the others, but we don't always see Omaha 100, in the limelight.
We're the
And
new kids on the block, so in the business lending
you are.
space.
Yeah, but
so.
you know what? The thing is that people still need to know what other options they have.
Yes.
Because if they think that I want to go there, or if they had a bad experience with one, I'm not going to go back there. So they need new options. They need to understand that there's still hope out here.
Yeah.
So bringing, letting people know and bringing visibility to Omaha 100 is just another thing that should be happening.
Absolutely.
We should be doing quite a bit of stuff.
And I'm excited that our board was open to supporting us expanding into other areas of lending. For 34 years, Omaha 100 strictly did mortgage lending.
Yep.
And focused on home ownership.
Yeah.
And then with our recent, it was an SSBCI grant, so State Small Business Credit Initiative, federal dollars that the state received that we also applied and were awarded, allowed us to move into the business lending space because there's other pathways to wealth than just home ownership.
It is.
Home ownership was the American
Business
dream, and that was the
ownership,
main way.
yes.
But ownership in general now is more so an opportunity for folks to have generational wealth and create a legacy and close that racial wealth gap. And so we wanted to be able to support the community in that lane as well. So now we've got the home ownership, mortgage lending, business lending, debt consolidation, and then we're also building a couple of affordable houses that will be selling at the end of the year.
Awesome. And I know that you guys also have a program too that you work with people that want to purchase a home, like first-time buyers. Is that correct?
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yes, ma'am. So it's first-time buyers, but also everybody.
Everybody.
So all buyers.
Okay.
Low to moderate income, and the main thing with our home ownership program is that you've got to have a denial. So as long as you've been denied from a traditional lender, then we're able to work because we are a partner to the banks. We ideally want everyone to be able to go through the traditional lanes.
Sure.
And so we never want to seem like a competition to the bank. We're a bridge to the bank.
No, banks are our friends.
They are our friends. We want to be able to access their money too.
That's right. That's right.
So
all the money is good money.
we partner with Family Housing Advisory Services for the home ownership classes. They are able to provide one-on-one support through that process, and then we are the lender. We also have other partners like nonprofit developers. The city of Omaha has a City Second program for 80% AMI and under for income. And so there's lots of ways that we can creatively finance a mortgage to get folks to that home ownership.
Get home ownership. Let me ask you this. So, and is there a age limit or whatever on that?
Just age of majority, so being 19 or over.
19 over, okay. And then also, is there a charge for the classes that they have to go through?
Good question. There's not currently a charge for classes. If you do the online classes, because there is an online option if the dates and schedule doesn't work for the in-person classes, you can go online to HUD.gov. And also on our website on omaha100.org, you can find it there as well.
Okay.
But if you do the online classes, it's $99.
Okay.
But you'll have the convenience of
being at
whatever
home,
time
not
you want
having
to do
spend
it.
gas, so it
Yes.
still kind of makes up in that.
Yes.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. I think a lot of people probably don't know that. And I think someone asked me about that probably a month ago. That was like, I want to buy a house, but and then they said, I've heard about Omaha 100, but I heard that you have to pay for the classes. So that might have been what she was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it was third hand that she got it.
Okay. Tell her come talk to us.
I always tell people, don't listen to that third hand. Just go and get the information for yourself.
And I was going to say, we just released our annual report for 23 and 24.
Oh, okay.
And in the centerfold of it, I just wanted to show, and we'll have it available online too. but we created a bit of a roadmap
Oh,
for homeownership
that
to
is
help
like
folks
my
understand the
roadmap
whole
I did for
process.
business ownership.
So it walks you through the process. It even has a detour if you decide to go the city second route to get that extra down payment assistance.
Okay.
And just helps understand and know what to expect.
Yeah,
Because
along the
it's a
way.
long process sometimes, and also it can be a scary, daunting process.
And is it a certain amount they have to make in order to apply for it?
With Omaha 100, no. But for the city second, as long as you're under 80% of the annual median income, then you qualify for their
Okay, they need to find
program.
out what the annual median income is and find out if they're under that.
Yes, and
If they have
it's a
to
bit
look
of
for it, I'm
a
sure they are.
yes, and it's a bit of a equation because it depends on how many people are in your household and all of that. So if they're just curious and they're welcome to give us a call and we
Give you
can let
guys a
them.
call. Okay, and that's
they
good
do.
to know, because people that, that's why I do this show, because a lot of times people just be wondering about stuff, and then they'll call me. I'm not always available. Well,
So you're trying to delegate some of your calls
yeah,
over. Okay.
exactly. I'm trying to delegate because, I'm doing so many different things, and I never want to not answer my phone, and I never want to say I don't have time. So I always take all those calls, and then I make notes, and then I try to get the people on in the show so I can have them.
Have those questions answered. Yes, absolutely.
So when they call me again, I was like, no, you need to call Omaha 100.
Yeah, and I really appreciate being able to work with our bank partners that help us fund the loans.
Yeah.
Because Omaha 100 does maintain our portfolio of loans. So as someone achieves home ownership, they move into their home, they're living their best life. Sometimes
sure.
lives. And so then they need us to come back to us and say, hey, can we modify or defer or do something with this mortgage so that we can just have some breathing room while we're going through whatever the event is.
Oh God, that's great.
So we don't sell off the loans, we maintain
Yeah,
them.
you maintain. Oh, that's amazing. And I think people need to know that, because even the big banks, even though you have good loan, never miss the payment, they sell your loan.
They'll sell loans.
They sell the good ones. They don't sell the bad ones. They get rid of the bad ones. And I didn't realize that, because I always thought that they just got rid of the ones that maybe they were having trouble with. But I remember, I don't know, I used to be with, anyway, I used to be with one bank,
Yes.
A
larger bank. Yes.
And then I got this letter that's saying that I had a new person coming. I was like, because for me, I don't want anything online. I don't want anything I can't go walk into the door, okay? But whatever, especially when I keep my stuff on automatic. And so I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. So I went to another large bank, and they took it. And first thing I said, do you sell these? And they said, Norman, this is what they said. They were honest. Typically, no. Typically, no, we don't. And only if they're trying to do certain things in their portfolio, they may. Okay, so I appreciate that, but I have been banking with that larger bank for 40 years, so I've always liked their service. So I think that's another thing too. Sometimes you don't mind certain things that are happening, but I think this one over there, they have so much trouble at the other bank, and they're always in the news. I was like, no, because ain't no telling where my loan will end up.
Yeah,
with somebody predatory. No. So anyway,
or somebody you can't get in contact with, or when you do have those things come up, you're not able to work out a payment plan modification.
Nothing. And so I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I worked too hard to pay myself. I'm not. But anyway, I think it's good to know that you guys don't sell a loan, so that's really good, and that's comforting to a homeowner, that to know that they can just, look, if I run into trouble, I just need to go and talk. And I always encourage people, look, life does happen, and there's times when life is good, there's times when life is medium, and time when life is just like lifing.
Yes.
You have to be able to be strong enough to talk to those creditors. It's just like when we had the pandemic, I mean, a lot of people were afraid. We were on the phone with people calling them their creditors because they didn't know how to ask them or tell them. They knew what was happening, but they would still were demanding
sure what to
payment.
Say or how much
just
to say.
Helping them, and say, this is what we can afford to do during this time, and really. All the creditors that we talked to at the time were very understanding. They really were, and I'm so happy they were. Because
I was going to say it's important for folks to know that they are able to do that on their own. They don't have to pay a service to speak on their behalf.
Right, we did it for free, but but a lot of people, I know that's another thing.
I know you did, but there's groups out there that will try to charge
everything. Yeah, and so, and that's why I put on these classes. I make sure I say always go local. Don't go to. I mean, there's people that's in the credit fixing, whatever you want to call it, industry, and I was just appalled because some of them were charging people right here in Omaha, calling themselves having a business, and they were charging people like $200, and they weren't doing anything to fix it. A lot of those people that they were working with, and you know, I mean, I went to CBA and I went to learn how to build credit as an asset.
Right.
You know, so I'm certified through them to do that. I'm not trying to fix nothing. We're not trying what was that other word they use?
Repair or
Repair. We don't do that. We don't do repair. Those are bad, ugly, disgusting words. Okay. But when you learn how to build credit as an asset, and what happens along the way is your score becomes an asset.
Right.
Okay. So that's what, you know, I do. And so I've turned a whole lot of people around. They said, I've been paying $200 a month and my score is really not changing. I get a letter saying, oh, this might be changing or that might be changing, but nothing changed. And I said, you know, I want people to stop calling themselves having a business and they're taking advantage of people, because that's all that is. Okay. They found a way, they listened at something, a tape online, and now they set up a business, and now that's what they're doing. I'm not saying that people shouldn't try things, you know, but don't take advantage of people, because I don't think you get far with that.
right. Absolutely.
You know,
That
give them
definitely-
education. If you can't educate them, don't just use them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Every business owner that I work with, I educate them. And it could be on finance, it could be on how to do a pro forma. I mean, whatever it is, I educate them so they can understand.
So that people can
you
be
know.
truly empowered.
Yes. If you don't empower them and you are a consultant, then you've lost. You've missed it. You have to be able, as a consultant, to be able to empower the people that you're working with, and so that they don't have to need you all the time.
Right.
You want them to, you know, lose your job. You want to lose your job. Just, you know, because there's always going to be someone that needs your service.
Absolutely.
So, you know, continue to, you know, educate people so that they can do what they need to do and grow. You know, and then they'll turn around and send people to you. You just, you know, we can't just be taking stuff.
And that's part of why our process takes so much longer. It's relationship focused, but we want people to understand their own situations and affordability, and not be set up in a position where they are moving into a home, but then the minute something breaks, they're not able to take
They're not able
care
to
of
take
that
care of-
emergency.
right.
So just making sure that we're truly looking at affordable costs to the homes, having emergency savings in the bank,
Cash flow.
not being completely
Understanding cash flow.
losing all of our liquidity just trying to close on a home.
Yeah, no, and that's good. I think that they need to go to class. That should be a
Yeah.
a mandate that they go to
They
the
even
classes
have a
first.
post-closing class for family housing. They do a class for homeowners after they've gone, because there's a lot going on when you're going through the process.
Because you got the 150,000 pages that you have to
Yes.
sign and everything else. So,
So once you get in the
do.
house and you're settled and your feet are up on the coffee table, you know, you might be thinking, what was that thing that they talked about? That one, and you know, it's helpful to go get a
I
refresher.
did that. Yeah,
and
it
talk about
does.
post-loans.
It really does.
items.
And things change. So if you even if you bought bought a house 25 years ago, things have changed.
Things have
Okay.
changed.
So when you go in
changing
now
rapidly.
yes, I was telling somebody, I said, look, you know, just wait. I'm telling you, things have changed so much. It's not like it was 25 years ago. It's a lot worse. But
Yes.
at least now you have better decisions. You know, you have knowledge on what you've done the past 20 years. And that's what it's about. It's about education, educating people so they can do better.
Yes.
They can live better. They can train their kids and their whoever to build wealth as well.
Yes.
You know,
And there are a multitude of resources in the state, especially in Omaha. I'm not sure exactly across the state, but I know there's CDFIs out west too. But for Omaha, specifically, we've got, like you said, SCORE, SBA, NBDC, the Nebraska Department. We've got Omaha 100, of course, Nebraska
Yes.
Enterprise Fund, just so many different resources. So I'm sure it can maybe be overwhelming too for
For a person,
business
yeah.
owners as they're trying to determine who to work with and who to trust. But I would definitely say there's a lot of great free resources.
There are.
And then also too, you get what you pay for. So sometimes if you have a more complicated business or more sophisticated business, it's helpful to get the experts like yourself to deep dive with you and do that one-on-one.
do some brainstorming. Desk checking is what I call, you know, because a lot of times we think we have everything in order, but then like the roadmap you showed, I have a roadmap from, you know, showing all those milestones and getting in there.
Yes.
And I think that that's really important because people need to see that, you know, visual for a lot of minorities is really great.
Yes.
You know, they don't always, you know, hear, you know, so seeing it, then they can say, oh, I see. So that's going to be great for homeowners,
Yes.
you know, and I'm glad that you're doing that. So is there anything else that we might need to know that Omaha 100 is doing and involved in? Any events that are coming up?
Well, we've got some exciting things on the horizon for later in the year.
Okay.
We're partnering with the Omaha Innovation Connection Hub, the iHub.
iHub, mhm.
Yep. And we were awarded funds through that DED program that I mentioned earlier. And so we're going to be looking at doing some additional workshops and services, maybe even being able to carve out some grant funding for some businesses to be able to layer into some of the other grants that are available, like Grow Nebraska currently has a grant that's up to, I think, $25,000 for businesses or newer businesses. And so just things like that, and looking to bring more businesses, especially minority businesses, to Omaha so that we can further develop our economy here, and especially in North and South Omaha.
Yeah, and it's booming, but it can do more. I think we could do more in the minority communities, North and South. And so I think I'm just happy that we have so much going on.
Yes.
You do have my business card, right?
Yes, ma'am.
For all the
number on speed
workshops
dial.
you want to. Look, I'm just doing a dirty plug in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm glad to hear that. Well, and I was going to say, do you do a lot of collaborating with different organizations that do workshops and things like that?
Yes.
You do some of that now?
Most recently, we had we had capital conversations with, oh my goodness, and of course now I'm going to forget. Burlington Capital has a venture capital organization, and venture capital is not really something that our community usually is very exposed to and gets engaged in. And so we wanted to really be able to bring venture capital to our community and help make sense of how that whole process works. And so we had a capital conversation that just broke down the difference between Proven Ventures, the organization is Proven Ventures, with Erica there. But we broke down the difference between taking on debt versus equity and partners and venture capital, and how to assess your business to understand maybe when it makes time or when it makes sense to do it.
Good. And I think that's good, because most people run away from venture capitalists because usually they are for bigger projects. They're mostly for technology and all that stuff. But I'm just so happy that you guys are just thriving and doing things. And for all of you guys out there that are looking for loan resources, don't forget about Omaha 100. Whether you want to purchase a home, whether it's a business loan, they have it all, and they are relational. So, call them up and talk to them if you have questions. Malinda, thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
This was awesome. We'll see you next time.